right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun, and we are back once again to talk about the second series of The Terror called Infamy. And we are now on episode 4. This episode is called The Weak Are Meat. I love these titles. I love being this is the first one that I didn't really look anything up. Too much. This is pretty straightforward. We've gotten a lot of information over the past 3 episodes. So I think this and this one kind of just goes. We've covered so many different topics that this one's pretty straightforward and it's pretty good. So if you're liking these, you're liking what we do here on the channel, we got all kinds of stuff always happening. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We do comics, we do games, we do movies, we do TV shows, we talk about movies I've never seen, all kinds of stuff. So, and then check all the playlists. We got a ton of stuff. I feel like I'm trying. I don't like selling myself. I don't know why. It's like, how you ever gonna get ahead? I don't know. But there's a shit ton of content on here, and you're bound to find something that you might like. So anyway, this one also directed. I think these might all be directed by Michael Lehman, but I'm not sure. He at least did the last one and this one. The writer is Naomi Lizuka. And like I said, I've been able to, in this one, with Chester gone, which I'm so surprised. Okay, this is episode 4. We have like 6 episodes left. 6 episodes left. So what is going to happen in the 6 episodes? Because especially when the main character is like overseas. So just like when they tried to run in episode 2, I was like, okay, well, of course they're going to get caught again. It's episode 2. But Chester's leaving at the end of episode 3. I didn't really think too much of it because he had to go to basic training and all this other stuff. But when we jump in, he's in Guadalcanal. So we're going to do, let's see. Yeah, we're going to do Chester's part of the story first. So he's in Guadalcanal. I mean, that's one of the most famous moments of World War II. And I really was surprised that they didn't find a way to keep him in camp. But this actually makes for an interesting story. I thought, what do you do if he's far away and this curse, if that's the point, is him getting away from the curse, right? Make everybody's lives better. Or if it is following him, how's he going to get all the way there to where he is, on a ship across the ocean? But he's been translating, fighting off malaria, and he hasn't been able to sleep for like 6 nights. So he's kind of losing it. And he's out there, the wind is making noises. Like, he's so used to the wind being a portent for something evil. And there you have it. There's that ghostly wind. And it just convinced me that he's convinced too that this Yuri thing is there. And he's yelling, like, I know you're here. So, like, okay. So if a spirit is here, is the spirit still back at home? Where's Yuko? The last time we saw Yuko, she was being the midwife for, well, she said she needed a doctor. I guess she went to see a midwife, and that's why I must have missed that bit of dialogue where they said she was a midwife and not a doctor. But back at home, oh wait, we're sticking with I'm sorry, I got my notes screwed up here. Oh yeah, I really did write my notes in like a weird order. So he's in the tent with his friend, who I want to bring up is played by Marcus Toji. whose character's name is Arthur Ogawa in this, and I knew I recognized him from somewhere. He's on a small show that's on Amazon Prime with an incredible cast. I love the story, and I have attempted in the past to discuss it several times, and have not succeeded. I really think I maybe I can do that one of these days. Who knows? But it's a little show called Patriot. If you have not watched Patriot, check it out for real. Um, but he's asking Arthur Ogawa about, because it seems like Chester just asks everybody about the supernatural. Like, he doesn't know much, but we need other characters to tell him. It's just exposition, right? And he's like, what are these Yurei usually after? He says it depends on what their onin is. And I guess, and this is the thing I should have looked up, right? Onin must be like, it's like unfinished business or something like that, along those lines. But it's basically a crazed hunger, and that it'll just keep going until its onin is satisfied. Basically saying like its business or whatever task it is been placed to do, it's going to keep going until it's done. Well, he finds claw marks in the tent, and I thought maybe it was like they were going to find out that it's like some kind of jaguar or something like that. But that's not the worst of it for Chester. For Chester, he gets called out to this disgusting, horrible mud pit filled with dead bodies. And it's like, I love that this show is got genuine like scares and creepy ways of being horrifying, and then they have ways of putting you in situations either with people that are scary and awkward and horrifying, and then there's just genuine disgusting shit like having to go through a pile of mud to sift through dead corpses of Japanese soldiers to find out if they have any information on them that'll help them catch this Admiral Takahashi that they're looking for. But it this episode is just really way more simple than the others. And things kind of fall into a little bit of cliched trope territory like that happens in normal TV, where they set things up for the episode anyway. Like, let's not think too long term, but like they have characters in here that are just pretty stock, like the GI that's like obviously going to start something with Chester because they I don't know, maybe because this is 10 episodes, maybe they had to, maybe this was a little bit of plot stretching, I don't know, or story stretching to get a little bit more. Like, they're only 43 minutes long, most of these episodes, so I don't know. And it's made on cable, so I don't know why they would feel the need to like put everything in here like this. But he finds a belt, which okay, it's covered in mud. And all I could think was either he's just super lucky, or I don't know. I just kind of didn't buy it, because when he takes the belt out and he has to wipe it down to show where the code is, I was like, I don't know. So maybe it was just an excuse to get into a really disgusting hole full of corpses, because it really was disgusting. But also, like, it was him kind of to the soldier that's pissed off, right? It's this guy getting in the muck and doing the work while they're sitting around, and instead of looking foolish, he actually finds something and gets praised, and then they feel like inferior. There's something right there if we wanted to like dig a little bit into that kind of uh, the fragile male ego, and what that has to do with racial bias. There's that, where would this guy be the same way to another white guy? And here's understanding a little bit of tensions being high, because there are people in this country that are truly patriotic, that truly like believe in, all of the tenets of America, good or bad, whatever that is, and also really supports like the troops and believes in the wars and stuff. And For those people back then in World War II who truly believed all that stuff and felt like Japan was, the enemy, no black and white. You see a Japanese person, an Asian person, for you turn red and you go like, we got to kill that son of a bitch, you know, to, they feel completely justified. But this isn't that. It's a little bit that, but I think it's more just, I'm going to use that as an excuse to, you know, push back against my own inferiority complex. I mean, it's bad enough that you're already anybody's over there fighting in war, but then you fight each other too. Like, I swear, like, think about that. You're in all these people are in the middle of war zones everywhere, anywhere, wherever there were wars, right? And there were still people fucking killing each other on the same goddamn side because they either couldn't agree or couldn't get along. So, hey, I guess there was something in here to talk about. Um, but yeah, it was a really cool scene though. Actually, just really gross. Um, then Chester, he's because he hasn't slept, because he can't sleep, because he's obsessed with the fact that he knows that there's something here in the camp around them, um, and he has this notebook and he starts seeing that like either turn into like bugs or ash coming out of his book, and he wakes up. He gets woken up by, Ogawa. He's like, dude, what are you doing? You're manhandling your notebook. And it does the fake out. It did a really good fake out. It really tried to fool me. And it probably could fool a lot of people. But they did the double fake out. So first he's like out of it with the notebook and he kind of, like he's daydreaming and shit, hallucinating a little bit, delusional a little bit. And then they get into the story and he starts talking about the freaking, well, let's see, he's reading about the devil's camp. That's right. He's got the notebook. He's reading about the devil's camp. It gets really creepy, and you're kind of supposed to like not know, but you can tell that the tension's building all of a sudden. And when all of a sudden he gets stabbed from behind, right through the chest with this big old knife, you're supposed to be shocked. And it was the only scare that didn't work on me because I could see it coming right before it happened. But it's the double fake out. He wakes up again. And then he realizes that he knows what took him and where. Because somehow while he was sleeping, he kind of figured out the solution, which they say is true. You can do that in your sleep. And so they go looking for Sergeant Crittenden. And I was like, well, are they still going like, I thought that maybe this was again another fake out where we're supposed to believe that it's a spirit, but it's like a tiger or a jaguar. But I know that like on Guadalcanal, I don't even think they had like, I don't even know if on that island there'd be a way to have wildcats. Um, I would assume that in that kind of environment, it would be really easy for them to go extinct on an island. I mean, like if something happened, it doesn't matter. I'm starting to go into like, why don't tigers live on Guadalcanal? Let's not get that sidetracked. But they find Crittenden, and he's another character actor from Vancouver that's been in a ton of stuff, and he's all messed up, right? And he's not making any sense. And what he's saying though makes sense to Agawa and Chester, except Agawa is like, dude, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's out of his mind. He's been out in the woods. He's been tortured. He's been just repeating back what his captors are saying. And all those things could be true, except that Chester has seen things and Agawa hasn't. And this thing says he's there to kill white devils, and they push him aside, and he's like, don't let this dude like anywhere near anybody. I do like that Reed Diamond's Colonel Stallings does stand up for Chester on several occasions, but just it's still more like I found the one really good one, and you guys like in bragging rights, but it still shows that like what happens later, nothing. I mean, there's really nobody to punish anymore, but like they didn't really do anything to step in when they could see that there was a problem either. Um, but they get chest. Okay, this is where the kind of the stories kind of meet. So I'll go backwards a little bit to go to their the home part with Luz and Chester's family, and Yuko's there. And when we first see Yuko in this episode, right, and her bedside manner, this is almost a comedy, like a dark comedy scene, because first off, you're scared. All right, you're watching this, which you know to be not a person, at least not a person anymore, working on Luz's stomach. But the way she's talking, it's all sad and like just there's not a lot of communication. I kept thinking to myself, this is a terrible doctor. That's when I didn't know that she was a midwife, and that's why she doesn't have any real like a lot of things she can do. But she has all the doctor's tools. So when she all of a sudden walks away and picks up all these like kind of scary looking tools for at Luz, and she's like, "What are those for?" And she's like, "To get the baby out." And the way she says it, and Luz's look on her face goes, "Oh shit! Is this woman about to try to take my kid out?" And I think they sold it in that moment pretty well, except then she walks up with the little toy drum, and all of a sudden the tension's relieved. Thank God no cat jumped out right after that to like fool everybody with a jump scare or something. But it's still really creepy. Even that. See, it may not have been like a scene where all of a sudden she's attacking Liz to take the baby out with forceps or something. No, it's equally creepy when she still hands her this tiny drum and she's like, "For the baby." And the actress is amazing. The fact that she's like really pretty and has this like such the quiet uh I don't know how like subservient kind of way she's pretending to carry herself in that way, very convincing. So like, but when like underneath all that is it's just an act, it's just a shell, it's just a show she's putting on, a performance. It's even creepier. But what's also interesting is, well, we'll have to get to it because, yeah, all right. I called it. All right, yes. This is a big moment. This episode doesn't have tons. It's a pretty cool moments, but as far as like big revelations, this one has like to me the biggest revelation that proves my what I've been saying for 3 episodes or maybe 2 episodes when I first presented a theory that I think that this goes all the way back to Japan, and that whatever Yuko is because of what happened there, and it has to do with the men who died, and possibly I would have to say Henry, right? Okay, at least Henry. We've only had 2 male deaths and the woman. Okay, now I'm really like thinking about who did this because of why did the woman die? Okay, so uh, Luz just randomly. Okay, this is definitely like the script trying to like lead point you in the right direction. Luz asks Chester's mom because she would because of the concern she has is not just it would be normal for any pregnant woman to ask another pregnant woman about or someone who had a baby what the experience was like, and it'd be even more appropriate if you asked somebody in your family that had a kid what that was like. So it's not like some kind of out of nowhere question. So when she asks her to remember what Chester's birth was like, and she's like, "Oh, I can't remember." I just can't remember. It was so long ago. And bam, I just knew it. That was it. If this show somehow pulls a right turn away from what I predicted, I will owe you I will owe everybody a Coke and a smile. Um no, not a Coke and a smile. I don't want to go or not. Nope. For anybody who knows where that came from, I apologize because I think I don't think that dude tainted that phrase for everyone, did he? But I called it. God damn it. Unless I'm, unless again, like I said, they pull some kind of weird ass Shyamalan shit in the 11th hour. Okay, that means she didn't give birth to Chester. So there's the shame. There's shame there in the family. And it might be why Henry is the way he is. And it would say that that would mean that Furia's, Hideo Furia's wife was the midwife for Yuko or something, right? I don't know why you would just kill the doctor, right? So that would be like, I think her connection. And the rest of it was like an assault or something that, so I still think that Yuko originally, before she became whatever she is now, or whatever pact she made, or whatever, she's Chester's mother, and this spirit is not just like you could in this show we can find out that they are like they can be hired, they can be sent by people. So Yuko or whatever it is could have been sent by someone in Japan after what's going on, and that it's gonna have to do it. And let's see, you see Nestler, he's a soldier. He sees the light where Yuko lives, and he goes inside there. And oh boy, I guess the show needed some more deaths, but it was cool because the guy goes in there, and we see Yuko all kinds of messed up. Her head's all kind of like, I don't know. It was wet, and like it made me think of Wadna from like Critical Role Campaign 3, just kind of black ichor and shit. And so she possesses the guy, the snap crackle pop possessed thing, and he goes out with his bottle of sake, climbs the tower past C. Thomas Howell, who's like, "Hey, don't go up there!" Like he has nothing to like stop the guy. I guess because he, honestly, you probably go, "Hey, he's not going to do anything." But if a guy is walking with that kind of intent up to the top of a tower and you don't do anything to stop him when he jumps, I feel like it's a little bit like, we blame the person, but sometimes in certain situations you step in and say, "Hey," and stop somebody from climbing a ladder. But he jumps off, and I love that it's just so like nothing. Like just boop, sorry, you saw too much. But this triggers so Yuko's little getting rid of a soldier who saw her moment turns against the entire camp. So Mr. C. Thomas Howell's character, I forget what his name is now, uh, blames all of them, calls them a bunch of Japs, and wants to know who got him drunk. Contraband toss all over the place. Everybody's crap. The veil of civility, the veil of what this really is, right, gets lifted because again, and I'm sure he sees it this way, as these people that were just trying to I bet you there's some of them that convinced themselves that this was for their own protection. But still, these people had to learn about, like, the people in charge would have had like a set of rules established to how to deal with things, right? You would think, which would mean again that this would have been stuff that would have been planned in case of emergency, break glass kind of thing, where this would have been something where there's paperwork of, in case of this is how we treat certain members of our society in case we need to separate them. So, but unfortunately, they actually were in the right place, and they find the sake that they were looking for in Henry's stash. Who, there was a lot down there, and it's because Henry's just getting shit faced. But instead, Walt Yoshida, Amy's brother, the son of the Yoshida who got gunned down by the soldiers, he decides to take the blame for Henry and is sent to the freaking stockades. I actually said that, like, I made a comment about them getting sent to stocks, and I was like, oh, wait, I think, is that right? Did I misspoke? Was that going too far? And then all of a sudden they say, put him in the stockade. So I'm glad that I was right about that. but also horrified because that means they really were sent there. Um, and Luz goes back to Yuko, who tells her that Henry feels forgotten, that by her. I'm not sure what that means. If somebody wants to tell me in the comments section or not, I don't know. It might be one of those mysteries of like, why is this guy who rejects her thinking she forgot him? But lo and behold, there's even worse news. Twins, everybody. Twins. Apparently, that's also like a bad omen of bad luck that brings death and misfortune. It's like something for everything. But Lowe's though comes to Henry. We have this great moment, like the dance under the lights dream moment. Except this isn't a dream. She really does come to Henry to, bridge the gap, to try to give the olive branch and reach out and try to reach her father-in-law or soon to be father-in-law. And it's a really heartfelt moment. And Luz has several really great heartfelt moments over these 4 episodes already. She gets like a monologue like almost every episode, and in this it's no different. Like telling, reading the story, reading the letter in Japanese, showing that kind of respect, because I understand, like, we might not all know our traditions, but everybody's got them, and respect is a big part of Japanese culture. And going to the effort to learn what that respect would look like, how it should sound, how it should feel, then doing it, and they still have you like that tension. That's always built in these kind of scenes of waiting for the other person to react to this, whether it'll be good or bad. And in this scene was no different. I really was like going, I don't know how he's going to react. I can't read this guy because everything that's been done to him, no answer really would surprise me. But when she says that she would name him in the Spanish name Enrique, which I believe is like Henry, he stands up and says it's a good name, and it's like boom, bam. And I was like so happy that there was like this moment of levity in this terrible situation of like, two people, like getting along that didn't, but they immediately take it away. And this is where we get to, oh yeah, they immediately they fix one thing, or they create one good thing and they take away everything else, which is that it's time for Luz to give birth to her babies. And I swear I didn't, in all the different scenarios that I thought this could go, I honestly didn't think that it would be dual baby death. Now, I also thought it was strange that Yuko doesn't just go in there as herself. She possesses the nurse. Why? Maybe she didn't know that she was being sought after. Maybe it didn't think that it would be able to maintain its form if it did too much. I think a lot of it has to do with using other people because of how much effort it takes to keep its form. So going in, using the nurse, and when the doctor brings out one dead baby and he does nothing with it, he doesn't try. And Yuko, not being a real nurse, it's really strange scene, right? Because Yuko's in the other room, remote, using this person's body, who would know how to do these things if she let her go. But since she doesn't let her go, the nurse can't do the right thing. The doctor, this is what I don't understand. What the hell? Like, what don't we know? Because he doesn't try. And he doesn't explain himself why he's not trying. Now, when the second baby comes out and he says that the umbilical cord, I think they were trying to imply that it strangled on the umbilical cord. Okay, well, how does that explain the other one? Were they both strangled on umbilical cords? He didn't say about the first one, and nobody tried to give compressions to either freaking baby. I know it's 1942. I know it's an internment camp, but you still do what you can, right? So I don't know how much I agree with it because again, I'll say this again about this episode. This one feels the most formulaic and most television drama of the episodes. And that's not necessarily a good thing. It's a little bit like all of a sudden, like as cool moments and beats that are in this episode, it's those tropes and cliches that creeped in this one that kind of lowers it a little bit for me, where I feel like I'm watching a little less prestige television, and a little more like try hard to like please certain elements of the story. Like to just, okay, it's episode 4, we got to do this. And again, I think this story really could have probably been told in 6 episodes, instead of 10. But we'll see what they do to stretch out this story, because if that's what this is going to come down to, is like having like episodes, let's call it like 4 or 5, 6, and 7 or something, just be kind of like, here's little bits of this and that where they slowly move the plot along. But I don't remember that for the Terror season 1. But I could be watching with like rose-colored glasses just because I really like it. But this is like kind of the first complaint that I've had about the show at all. So both babies are dead. God damn. They really had you committed to it. I really like if one, okay, when one came out, I was like, okay. But the second one, I was like, what? And Yuko, it almost felt like another reason for Yuko to have another person to kill rather than make sense for the plot. It felt like you dumbed down the doctor on purpose so that he wouldn't do anything. And what's the reasoning? It was kind of weak reasoning. So Yuko gets really angry at the doctor, and you just know, okay, well, his number's up. And it is. So to finish it off, we're going to go back to Chester, who just as he's getting the letter announcing that he's going to have twins and that peace has has been reached between her and Henry, and all the things are coming true, and Chester feels great. At the same moment, back in San Francisco or wherever that they are. They're not in San Francisco. Where are they? I forgot. They're getting rid of all the evidence basically that the babies exist, and they're just getting back to normal ass, camp life. I mean, what a distraction a pregnancy would be to a bunch of people that are stuck in a camp. I mean, at least you have 9 months. You have at least 9 months. And maybe if they're late babies, you have 10. Don't have kids in internment camps to kill time. But as he's getting all that part's falling apart. They all have each other though, and that's something still. Chester's coming home to a lot, not what he expects. And will they do another time jump where he finds out, like when we next see him, he knows? But holy shit, does a beatdown turn into a barbecue? So I did like this scene because it is the cliche. The guys are coming after him. Hey man, like this is for Crittenden. Like, what are you talking about? Because they do find out, like, okay, so in this scene they find out something. This is a really good scene actually. That starts out weak because of the cliche. We're gonna kick your ass, man, because you're not, you're the enemy combatant working for us, even though, again, special treatment, you're getting special treatment too. I bet, like the things that these guys build up in their heads to justify what they're doing. And they're kicking the shit out of him. They're telling Crittenden, get in here, man. This is for you. And you think he's going to join in. And like, I was like, oh shit. Like if he shoots, he could just shoot him and it'd be all done. Right. But that can't happen. It's episode 4, man. Chester's the main character. And if they kill the main character, like right now, what is this, Game of Thrones? So like all of a sudden he flame throws the entire group of guys that are attacking Chester, to the point where Chester's like he's actually protected from the fire because of all the guys in front of him taking the brunt of the flames. And then he's just standing there, and all these guys come running out like, what the hell happened? One of the guys does kind of live, and I bet 100 to 1 it's like the main antagonist of this whole thing. He'll be the one that's still alive and like killed by like some kind of spirit, maybe Crittenden or whatever, Crittenden's Bakuman. But they can't believe he's alive, and they take Crittenden. They're like, Chester's going at him like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm sent here to kill white devils. And Chester thought it was about him, but it's not. The Admiral Tokahashi, he's under orders to kill all the white devils that he can. So this spirit was like sent by the military. Maybe there was some kind of seance or some kind of like, not seance, but you know what I mean? Like some kind of ritual that they did. I don't know. Like, does a Bakuman come to an office? Did he come onto a ship? Was it already there? Did they, seek it out like in some kind of like, is there like some kind of Goonies adventure that happened to find the Bakuman? Did like Admiral Tokahashi have to like send a bunch of people into this cave to find out if it's there? And then what do you do for the bargain and all this stuff? There's an extra story element here that I would love to know. But that's one of the things I love about this kind of thing is it allows you to create your own stories in your head about some of these things. So, and it's comic book as hell. Because he's like a sleeper spirit weapon. That's crazy. I love it. So crazy, I love it. Comes back home. Where's Yuko the midwife? And just like Chester looking for her at the brothel, nobody seems to know what she's talking about. But at least when they go to check the directions that Luz gives them, like she goes in there, right? She's calling out, Chester's mother's calling out for Yuko, like, hey, like how you make a lot of noise when there's a bear around to make sure, like she's announcing herself, but all she finds is pieces of like scalp and skin and hair. So you're like, oh no, is she about to get killed in the scene? But no, they cut away. Because apparently, and again, this would have been something that they missed out on in the episode, right? In other parts of the story, I've pointed out like how they took care to explain things in the story. So when all of a sudden there's a party going on in the middle of the camp, that is something that I think would have been a lot more present in the episode instead of just inserting it there. If it was mentioned, it was barely mentioned, but this would have been a thing that would have been brought up several times. And if I was zoning out that many times and didn't catch it, then dang, man, maybe I'm speaking another language right now. I don't even know it. But again, some of the writing in this was just I don't know. But it still works because you get the creepy mask. Yuko walking around with a really creepy mask. And while it may be normal looking to people that wear those kind of, in those kind of situations, there's a million different kinds of masks. Maybe this one's fine. Maybe it's not as creepy, but it's creepy as hell to me. And it was creepy as hell to the doctor who the mask was bad enough. But she goes in, we know it's Yuko, goes in, stands over Luz, again, making us think, is she going to kill her? Is she going to kill her? But then, no, she goes after the doctor and does the little creepy shuffle. Hey, what are you doing here? Come back tomorrow. What do you want? Hey, don't you speak English kind of thing? Like, and it just moves a little and moves a little and moves a little, and the guy does nothing. Okay. I would have just said, take the mask off at least, except you didn't really want that either, because when the mask does come off, we finally see what Yuko looks like when all that skin and scalp, and we know what was under it. And that's why it was wearing a mask when it went after the doctor. And it is a horrifying thing. It is a horrifying thing. And she calls him a murderer because he let the babies die, in her opinion, which I can't disagree with. I can't. He let one die without trying. Two, probably. At least put some effort in. They're people. you know. But nope, Snap Crackle possessed, and Doctor cuts his own guts out. Okay, they don't show his guts, but he goes deep enough into his abdomen to see the beginning of the intestines poking out, and he just falls to the floor, and it is, and the blood like trail soaks out to like the mask that Yuko was wearing in the situation, and like you like Luz has no idea that this happened. Um, and speaking of Les, I'll say one other thing, and again, it goes back to that the delivery scene being kind of weak. It, I don't know, it just didn't feel like a. It felt really like I was watching a show and not actually watching a delivery of a baby. For all the care again that this show gives, maybe they didn't have the budget to do it, but it just didn't feel like a real like it didn't feel like you were really watching somebody give birth in that scene, or how it would be after they gave birth and found out that their fucking babies were dead. I don't know. I feel like Les is the kind of character who would have jumped up and ran over to the table, and no matter what, like as much as she didn't want to die in childbirth, she didn't want her kids to die in return. So I don't know. This was the weakest one, but at times it was really fucking awesome. So that's the week our meet episode 4. We had some things to talk about. We actually talked longer than I thought I would. So that shows something. And if you like, again, the style of what we're doing, at least on these videos, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And, kind of give me some recommendations for shows maybe I should do someday, and at least to check out and see if I want to talk about them. Leave it in the comment section. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys, all guys, gals, everybody, on the next video. Bye.